In this video, you will learn to subtract whole numbers with any number of digits, to estimate a difference by rounding, and to estimate a difference by using front-end estimation. Now, subtracting and adding whole numbers are pretty similar as far as the process goes. There's one main difference though with subtracting whole numbers. So let's show an example. Example 1, we have 599,945 minus 68,452. When you subtract, just like with addition, make sure that the correct places are lined up. So for example, the ones place for both numbers are lined up, the tens place are lined up, the hundreds place, and etc. Now, just like with addition, we want to look at each value. So like the 5 and the 2 in the ones place, we look at those and we are going to subtract those numbers. So 5 minus 2 would give me 3. And then we work our way to the left with the next one. The thing that's different though with subtracting is right here where we see for the tens place, we would have 4 minus 5. That would give me a negative number, which we're not dealing with these type of problems. So what I want to do is I want to borrow from the hundreds place. So the number to the left, I want to borrow from. So this 9 right there, I'm going to borrow from that. So I'm going to take one number from the 9, which that would make the 9 to become an 8. And then we put that 1 with the 4, so now we have 14. And then we subtract 14 minus 5 to get 9. So that is the main difference with subtracting, is if the number on the top is going to be smaller than the number that you're subtracting by, then you need to borrow from the number to the left. So now, for the hundreds place, we have 8 minus 4, which would give me 4. And then the thousands place, we do 9 minus 8, that gives me 1. The 10,000s place, 9 minus 6 would give me 3. And then we have 5 minus 0, which would just be 5. So my answer, when I subtract, is going to be 531,493. Now, with any subtraction problem, we have terms to know, and those terms are the different parts of the subtraction problem. So the number that we are putting first is called the minuend. The second number is called the subtrahend, and this third number, the answer, is called the difference. Now, minuend and subtrahend, in my personal experience, I've not really seen those terms used too often, but they are good to know. And the term difference, however, you will see that all the time. So out of these three, especially, make sure that we know the word difference. Now, once we have found our answer, we can double check our work by taking the difference and adding that with the subtrahend, and that should equal the minuend. So let's try that. So we're going to take this 531,493, add that with 68,452, and let's see what we get. So if we add these together, we do 3 plus 2 to get 5. 9 plus 5 is 14, carry the 1. So you have 1 plus 4 plus 4, that's going to give me 9. 1 plus 8 is 9. 3 plus 6 is 9. Then 5 plus 0 is going to be 5. So notice what I have. I have 599,945, which was my original minuend. That was the first number up here. So we have confirmed that we do indeed have the correct solution. Now let's take a look at another example. Here we have 472,167 minus 68,452. Now when you subtract, you start from right to left. And again, make sure when you set up that you have everything lined up. So right now it's lined up for you, but make sure if it's not, make sure you do it on your own, where the ones places are lined up, the tens place, the hundreds place, and etc. So working from right to left, we look at the ones place. So we do 7 and 2. So 7 minus 2 would be 5. and then work our way to the left to the tens place. We have 6 minus 5 to get 1. Work our way to the left at the hundreds place. We have 1 minus 4, which does not work because 1 is smaller than 4. So I have to borrow from the thousands place, from the 2. So from the 2, we're going to borrow 1 from the 2. So the 2 now becomes a 1, and the 1 in the hundreds place, you put the 1 that we borrowed in front of it. So now we have a 1 in front of the 1. That takes me to 11. So now I have 11 minus 4 in the hundreds place. So 11 minus 4 is 7. And then the thousands place, we have 1 minus 8. And again, we cannot subtract 8 from 1 because 1 is smaller than 8. So I need to borrow from the 10 thousands place. So borrow from the 7. So we're going to borrow 1 from the 7. So the 7 becomes a 6, and the 1 becomes 11. We put the 1 in front of the other 1. And now we can subtract the 11 minus 8 to get 3. And then in the 10 thousands place, we have 6 minus 6 to get 0. And the 100 thousands place, we have 4 minus 0, which would be 4. So my solution is 403,715. And to confirm that we have the correct solution, what I can do is I can check by taking the difference plus the subtrahend. And if I do it correctly, that should equal the minuend. So I take the 403,715, I can add that with the 68,452, and that should equal the 472,167. So let's double check. So starting from right to left, we do 5 plus 2. That gives me 7. 1 plus 5 would give me 6 in the tens place. 7 plus 4 is 11. So we have 1, carry the 1. So now we have 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12. So 2 goes there, carry the 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 6 is 7, and then 4 plus 0 is 4. So we have 472,167, which is the same number that we started with. That was my original minuend. So we have confirmed that we do indeed have the correct solution. Now, with addition, we learned how to estimate a difference by rounding and by front-end estimation. We're going to do the same thing now with subtraction, and the process is exactly the same. So if we want to estimate a difference by rounding, the process is we round each minuend and subtrahend to the place of the greatest value. And then we can subtract the rounded numbers together. So for example, if we had 7,814 minus 227. If you want to estimate by rounding, we're going to round the first number, so the minuend, and round it to the greatest place value. So we're going to round this to the thousands place. So we're going to round by looking at the number before it. So look at the 8. The 8 is 5 or bigger, which means I'm going to round the 7 in the thousands place up to an 8. So this would be 8,000. And then the 227, we round to the hundreds place because that's the biggest place value. And so we look at the tens place to round. So the tens place is a 2, that's smaller than 5, so I keep the 2 in the hundreds place right there at a 2. So what I have is 8,000 minus 200. So it's approximately 8,000 minus 200, which you can maybe do in your head, and that would be 7,800. If you cannot do that in your head, you could write it out. 8,000 minus 200. The way I think of this, though, doing this mentally, is we have 8,000 minus 200. So 8,000 is the same thing as 8,000. So we have 80 minus 2 is 7,800. But either way, if you do not see that, you can subtract like normal. So we work from right to left. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 again is 0. 0 minus 2 does not work, so I borrow from the 8. That becomes a 7. and then we put the 1 that we borrowed in front of the 0. So we have 10 minus 2, which is 8, and then 7 minus 0 is 7. So, again, my answer, when I round, is 7,800. And remember, this notation right here, that is the symbol for approximately. So by rounding, we have found that our answer is approximately 7,800. And the actual answer, by the way, would have been 7,587. So we're pretty close, but obviously it's going to be exact if you take the time to subtract, the correct way. But if you want to round quickly in your head, this is the way to do this. And by the way, if it's not specified, you're going to round to the greatest place value. You could actually have a more accurate rounding the further that you round this. So like, for example, the 7,800, if I wanted to make it more accurate when I round, instead of rounding to the thousands place, I could have rounded to the hundreds place. So if I would have done it that way, this would have rounded to 7,800 when I rounded. And then this would have been, we could have left this the same as 200. So 7,800 minus 200 would have gave me 7,600. And 7,600 is closer to the actual answer. So you could always increase the accuracy of your rounding by rounding to a lower place value. But if it's not specified, you just always round to the place of the greatest value. Okay, let's try another example. Here we have 785,219 minus 219,256. So to round, I'm going to round to the greatest place value because it is not specified otherwise. And so for this first number, the 785,219, I want to round the 7. So to round, I look at the number before it, which would be the 8. And because it is 5 or bigger, the 7 would round up to an 8. So this would be an 8 followed by zeros. That's going to be 800,000. The second number, we can round the 2 by looking at the 1 right here. And because that is lower than 5, the 2 would remain at 2. So it's a 2 followed by zeros. So what I have is 800,000 minus 200,000, which would be 600,000. So my rounded answer would be approximately 600,000. Whereas the actual answer would have been 565,963. Now lastly, we're going to work on estimating a difference by using front-end estimation. So to remind you of the process, what we're going to do is we take the first 2 digits of the minuend and subtrahend. So do not round, just take the first 2 digits and then put the appropriate number of zeros at the end. Once you do that, then you subtract those new numbers. So for example, here we have 7,714 minus 227. So to use front-end estimation, what I do is I take the first 2 digits, so we take the 7 and the 7 for the first number, and then put zeros at the end. Alright, so it's going to be 7,700. The second number, again, we take the first 2 digits, so the 2 and the 2, and then we follow that with a 0. So just take the first 2 digits of whatever number is given to you, and then put the appropriate number of zeros at the end. So from here, we can then subtract. So I take 7,700 minus 220. Alright, so when I subtract, just make sure everything is lined up correctly. So we subtract the ones place, so the zeros subtract. The tens place, we try 0 minus 2, but that doesn't work because the 0 is smaller than 2. So I borrow from the hundreds place. So the 7, we're going to borrow 1 from there. That's going to become a 6. And then the 0 becomes a 10. Now we do 10 minus 2 to get 8. and then 6 minus 2 in the hundredths place to get 4, and then 7 minus 0 would be 7. So my rounded answer using front-end estimation is going to be 7,480, whereas the actual answer would have been 7,487. So notice we were very close with this front-end estimation. Let's take a look at one more example. So here we have 785,219 minus 219,256. So using front-end estimation, I take the first two digits. So for the first number, we take the 7 and 8, and then follow that with the appropriate number of zeros. So it's going to be 780,000. And then the second number, we take the first two digits, so the 2 and the 1, then follow that with zeros. So we're going to have 4 zeros after, so that's going to be 210,000. All right, so we have 780,000 minus 210,000. And then I just subtract those to determine my estimation. So 780,000 minus 210,000. These ones, the numbers line up pretty nicely. So just work our way from right to left. 0 minus 0 is 0. Here again we have zeros, another set of zeros, another set of zeros. Now we have 8 minus 1 to get 7, and then 7 minus 2 is 5. So my estimated answer would be 570,000, whereas the actual answer would have been 565,963. So again, we were pretty close, but this would be our estimated answer by using front-end estimation. So in conclusion, we have learned how to subtract, we have learned how to estimate a difference of two numbers by rounding, and we've learned how to estimate a difference by using front-end estimation. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.